Hello, this is Dodie from Deliberate Aging. Welcome to my podcast. Today I have the pleasure of being joined by a friend, Mimi Lezanski. Now, Mimi and I became friends out of a couple shared interests. First of all, we met at book club, so we both share a love of reading. And then we soon discovered we both have a love of yoga. So we'd often find ourselves rolling out our mats next to one another at a weekend yoga class. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome, Mimi.
Thank you so much, Dodie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. All right, so to start off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and if you feel comfortable, also tell us how old you are.
Of course. I am very proud to be turning 63 in June. I recently retired from teaching. I started teaching, then spent most of my career as an administrator, and then finished my career, my last 2 years out of 25 teaching in Parsippany. Where I started my career. So that was a very nice way to round out my experience in the New Jersey education system. So, and I'm married. I have 2 children. I have 4 grandchildren, 3 dogs, and now I'm looking to yoga as something to do during my retirement.
Okay, so you retired from education, and then
Mm-hmm.
you maybe took a short break, and then you jumped right back in and started educating yourself, and you just recently got your yoga teacher training certification.
I did. It was always my long-term plan to become a yoga teacher. I discovered yoga in the late 90s. I started practicing as something to do for myself. I was working, I was getting my master's degree. Typical situation, young mom, wife, house, dog, cat, kids, husband. And I said to my friend, I said, can you find us something to do where I can just unplug and just do something for me? So she said, sure, I'll look into it. And she came back to me in about a week and she said, well, we can do ballet. I found ballet classes, or we can do yoga. I thought, well, ballet, I don't know about ballet. I said, okay, how about yoga? And that's how it started. I immediately fell in love with yoga. Being on your mat is a truly wonderful experience, where you're only focused on what you can do, the best you can do, and to be the best you can be.
Okay. So one thing that struck me there is that you seem to have a love of learning. And one thing that I'm really interested in as we age is our brain health and how experts are recommending that we do things that are challenging and stimulating for our brain to keep ourselves mentally sharp as we age.
Yes. So I knew that during my retirement, I was not going to spend my time in the garden or knitting, or I'm more of an active person. I'm more athletic and active. So I knew that when I retired, I wanted to become a yoga instructor because I feel, I have that mantra, once a teacher, always a teacher. And I love teaching. So when I retired, I did do some research on which institute I wanted to attend, and this institute was focused on making yoga accessible to everyone. It's not only for people who can put their leg, behind their head, which is not what yoga is. Anyway, attending the institute really helped to deepen my knowledge of my own practice and of yoga itself. So it was a lot of learning. So coming back to your point, it was difficult. I haven't been in a classroom in a very long time. Note taking was a challenge. But the instructors were very helpful. They shared their slideshows with us, so I can review periodically when I'm thinking about what I'm learning, when I'm thinking about what I want to do with my friends. I do go back to the slides that interests me, and I have to review. But it is stimulating to learn something new, to deepen what you already know in a different way.
Hmm. Fascinating. So you didn't shy away from the challenge. You jumped, both feet in and just
I really did. I couldn't wait.
great, great. But you also bring up an interesting point about retirement. So in the past, maybe 40 years ago, retirement meant typically stopping work and just doing maybe what you said, gardening and knitting. But now it
Yes.
seems like retirement is more like go to do a job that you've always wanted to do just for fun, just for you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know whether 60 is the new 40 or whether 70 is the new 40, but that's been around for a while, right?
Mhm.
So I think with advancements in nutrition and medications, and I think we're younger than we used to be in retirement. And I think society has given retired, I don't want to say elders, but yeah, I mean, we're older, right? People the permission to pursue interests and hobbies and other things. I think it's great. I feel young. I enjoy being with young people. My kids, we're very lucky. Our kids, we vacation with them. We go, we spend weekends with them. I'm with my grandkids, and I feel very fortunate that I'm surrounded by young people.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, I like your comment about 60 as the new 40, and because I find that very inspirational. And I see people like Helen Mirren as one of my most motivating actresses because she's 79 and she's still out there. She's not stopping. She's still out there working, producing amazing movies, and she looks great. So she's obviously taking care of herself.
She does. She's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. So, the theme of this podcast is deliberate aging. So, deliberate choices that people can make to age well. So, what would you say you do for yourself to age well? And let's start with nutrition. How do you fuel your body to be at your best?
I am a believer in clean eating. I don't eat anything that comes out of a box. I mean, can't say never, right? The occasional indulgence. But I was raised in a Polish household, where everything was cooked, homemade soups, homemade meals. Nothing came out of a box, and I maintained that throughout my life, and I taught my children the same thing. So, clean eating for me is super important. I also, when I was working as an administrator, it was a stressful time for me. It was a stressful job, and I had some health issues that led me to eliminate certain foods. That really led me to look at my diet more closely, dairy and wheat and things like that. But I have to say, I eat everything now. I'm certainly not stressed as a retiree. And but I eat everything in moderation, and I really try not to eat anything past dinner time, which is about 5:30.
Okay, so you're practicing a sort of a form of intermittent fasting in a way.
Kind of,
Mhm.
kind of. I mean, if I'm hungry in the morning, I'll have breakfast. If I'm not, I'll do my yoga, I'll do a workout, and then I'll have breakfast. So I'm not that strict in the morning, but in the evening I am, because I know that I won't feel well and I won't sleep well. So I do that. I take supplements. I do a lot of reading. I follow doctors online. Um, I don't follow anything religiously, but I do listen to my body. And I think that's a, a very important thing that people should do, is they need to listen to their bodies. What is your body telling you? When you eat something, how do you feel? When you move a certain way, how do you feel? Becoming in tune with your body, in my opinion, is very important.
Hmm. And that's a very yogic concept as well, being mindful, right?
Yes.
So, what do you do making deliberate choices again for movement? How do you exercise? How do you keep yourself strong and flexible?
So, as long as I remember, I've always been in the gym. I was a aerobic instructor back in the 80s in college. So I've been in gyms all my adult life. The past couple of years, let's kind of forget COVID for a little bit. I was doing CrossFit, which was so much fun, and yoga on weekends up here in the Catskills. Um, and also we play a little bit of tennis. We ski in the winter. We hike, walk with the dogs. Now I walk regularly, 2, 3 times a week, about 2.5 to 3 miles. I do yoga every morning. One of my daughters gave us a Peloton. She said that she was done with it. She had bought something else. She's a CrossFit athlete. So she said, Mom, we bought it during COVID. Why don't you take it? And I think it's great. So I've been doing that. I do my yoga routine in the morning, or I walk. And so I try to keep it varied, because I do have to say, besides the yoga in the morning, I do, I get bored with the routine. So I do elastic bands. It's called cross symmetry. Like I said, the walking, weights, and I just try to vary it.
Okay. So I know you have some beautiful grandchildren. So how do
Mhm.
you feel you physically are in relation to playing with your grandchildren? Are you able to keep up with them in terms of stamina, strength, flexibility, mobility?
Yes, I can. However, we all have our aches and pains. Back in this past October, I was with the little ones for a 4-day weekend. My daughter was competing in Tennessee, so I agreed to take care of the kids. And I took them to a farm, and I ended up carrying Quinn, which is the little one. She was 15 months at the time. She was walking, but, she was still teetering and had to be carried. So I have to say, carrying her on my left hip, to keep my right hand free over the weekend did have its repercussions, I have to say. Um, but, the walking around the farm, keeping up with them, running after them, certainly. So, um, picking up little children, any repetitive type of motion, I notice for myself can have residual aches and pains. So I have to be careful with that.
So is that something you just noticed as you've gotten older, or say like 30 years ago, would you have taken the
Yes,
same
no, no,
mindful
no.
approach?
It was definitely as I got older. The first time I noticed it was after working out. I was doing some lunges. I ended up going to physical therapy. Physical therapist taught me a lot about increasing my body awareness and about what muscles need to be engaged, in doing which activities. So yes, when I pick up Quinn, I make sure that I'm in a, even squat position, engage my quads, glutes, abs, and, then I pick her up. So everything has to be very deliberate and planned. But you know what, when you get into that mentality, because yes, as we age, we have to be careful and we have to be conscious of our body and our movement and what can happen if we're not careful. So I think education, educating ourselves about our bodies, whether it's mind, body, spirit, is very important.
Hmm. Okay. So you mentioned changes as you age. What else have you noticed in your body and your mind as you've gotten older, and how have you addressed that?
Um, well, on the positive side, I feel that I'm calmer. I'm much more. Um, I don't get as emotionally charged as I used to. I find the space between stimulus and a reaction. In other words, if I see something is going to probably anger me, I will or elicit some sort of anger or becoming upset or anxiety. I find that I have the ability now to find that space and not to react right away. On the other side, I don't remember things as well. Sometimes I catch myself um, just, I mean, my husband and I, we laugh, right? Because did we do that or did we not do that? I think it's within the normal capacity. that happens with aging.
Hmm.
But yeah, when I play tennis too much, my wrist hurts, so I have to take a break, and it's just a balance. I think right now, finding the perfect balance between the right amount of activity, the right amount of stimulation for the brain, in order to not become more forgetful, right?
Hmm.
In order to exercise the brain. As a matter of fact, I'm uh, going to look into learning Sanskrit because I love languages. I was a language teacher. I speak 4 languages, and I think that would be a great way to do some new learning by learning Sanskrit.
Mm. You are not slowing down by any means, huh?
I'm trying not to.
So now that this is a good segue into my next question. And so you're Polish.
Yes.
And one thing that fascinates me are the cultural differences on aging. So, what
Mhm.
are the differences between how the Polish society views elderly people and aging in general versus here in the US?
Huh, interesting. Well, I was born in the United States and I really never lived in Poland, but what I know that, the quintessential Polish babcia had the, kerchief on her head and was in the kitchen making pierogies, right? Or
Mhm.
or something else. Um, well, I'm not that babcia. I'm not that grandma. And I have to say today in Poland, that's really not the image anymore either. I mean, women are just as I don't want to use the word liberated, but I mean, I don't know what the word is. Professional and I think westernized, because are talking about Eastern Europe, right? So
Mhm.
as soon as that Iron Wall collapsed, I think things really evened out. But what I do that is a Polish grandma thing is that when I am with the kids, I sometimes when I have to feed them and I make them soup, we may sit on the couch, which which is a Polish grandma thing that you do whatever you can just so that the kids can eat.
Oh,
Whereas with your own kids, you have them sit at the table and you have rules. But as a Polish grandma, I'm like, you know what? We'll sit on the couch
got
with the soup bowl.
it.
But yes, grandparents in Poland are included. I would have to say grandparents are included more in the Polish culture. Um, Polish grandparents live with their kids usually, and there never really was such a thing as a quote unquote assisted living nursing home or whatever. Generations is a multi-generational household. So I would have to say that's the major difference.
Yeah, multi generational households is what I've heard as well in the Eastern European region, and it seems studies show that promotes longevity and health.
It does. In the blue zone countries, I mean, that is very important. When I was a French teacher, we did a French activity. I found a super short video in French on Icaria. And that's where I really discovered blue zones and what they are. And really, including the elderly in family activities, in social activities, is really important for maintaining longevity
Hmm.
and the quality.
So you sound like you're very busy and you have lots of things going on, but what do you do for fun? What are your hobbies?
Oh my gosh. Well, believe it or not, working out is my hobby. That's what I love to do for fun.
Hmm.
I mean, physical activity for me is fun. So I mean, I really enjoy that. I love walking with my dogs. I love spending weekends with my friends, having them over for dinner. And usually that ends up into a game of bridge. And I'm also learning how to play bridge, which is super, super challenging because I hate numbers. I love languages, but I hate numbers and counting and statistics. And that for me is super challenging. But uh, that's what everybody else knows how to play bridge. They all played it in Poland in college, and I'm the only one who really doesn't know how. So I'm the odd man out. So I've got to step it up and learn. So, so that's fun. Um, I love spending time with my kids. I love reading. Um, occasional gardening. I like in my home in the Catskills. I have tiny like little rock gardens I enjoy uh, keeping up. And I don't know. Does
Yeah.
that sound like fun to
Yeah,
you? I
it definitely
don't.
does. A lot of people that might be listening are struggling with how to fit exercise into their lives. And you just said it's fun for you. So, how did you make it fun? Was it like that for your whole life?
Um, Actually, it started when I started as an aerobic instructor. I really was never into sports as a kid. I wasn't. My mom thought that sports was not for girls, really. Other than ping pong and maybe tennis. But my parents couldn't afford to send me to tennis lessons or anything like that. I mean, I grew up swimming and, running and playing and hide and seek and all that stuff. And the way we did in the 60s, 70s, and, kind of being a free range kid. Um, but when I got to college, I remember my mom saying, you really should. She joined Jack LaLanne on Route 46 in Fairfield. I don't know if you remember that, Jack LaLanne. But she said, they're looking for instructors. You should do it. And I thought, no, no. She goes, do it. You're going to be great. And I did it. And that's how physical fitness became a passion. I
Interesting.
loved the aerobics. I loved the weight training. I loved it all. I loved the whole camaraderie of being in a gym.
Yeah, I feel the same. And I feel that, like, it's become a habit for me. And if I miss
Hmm.
a day, I really notice it. And I also feel like it's my therapy because it really helps me to get rid of my stress.
Yeah, yeah. It really is because I think whatever activity you decide to engage in, it forces you to only think about that activity for that time. It's very difficult to think about your job or whatever is causing you stress while you're either playing tennis or pickleball or lifting weights or doing yoga. So it's very important to be able to divert your attention to something positive instead of constantly perseverating on what it is that's causing you any stress or anxiety. So yes, I agree.
So, taking that a little bit further, now that you're a yoga teacher, how
Hmm.
would you instruct your students who are in yoga class when sometimes there's some downtime, like say in Shavasana at the end, from
Uh-huh.
allowing their minds to go off and wander into their job stress and but to
Yeah,
stay?
that's a difficult thing. I struggled with that as a student myself. The only thing that we can do, and what I was taught to do, was to remind the students to focus when something like that happens, to acknowledge it without any judgment. Don't become angry. Don't become disappointed. Acknowledge your thought and let it pass. Some people use a visualization like a cloud. Other people use a visualization like a bubble. Put it in a bubble and let it float away. Return to your breath. Focus on the breath coming into your nose, and out through your nose. I mean, there are a lot of ways to divert your attention, but it's difficult and it takes practice.
Hmm.
So the answer is yes, it is difficult. Thoughts do come, but the only way to manage those thoughts is to practice a type of meditation. No one is good at meditating the first time around. It's something that takes years of practice. And I'm certainly not an expert at it, but I do try to practice.
Now, do you use meditation as a form of stress management, or what do you do it for?
I do it to clear my head. I have to say that I don't have really, I'm not stressed. I don't even like the word stress. Sometimes I feel like we overuse it in society today. Everything seems to stress everybody out.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, it's just life. Um, I I think meditation is important to quiet the mind. You have to quiet the mind to be able to approach life and approach the situations that you face every day, um, with a little bit of detachment, without emotional attachment. So, in order not to get upset or stressed, as you say, or whatever adjective we want to use, um, meditation is important to help us settle, and clear our minds. We have to learn how to be calm and still, and find that stillness in order to approach everyday life happily and successfully, because we want to be happy, right? Our goal is to be happy human beings. And in order to do that, we have to find that stillness, and that's what yoga teaches us.
Earlier, you talked about nutrition and how you make sure you stop eating at like 5:30 ish because it
Yeah.
affects your sleep. So,
Hmm.
how do you sleep? How have you noticed it's changed maybe as you've gotten older? And how do you try to have the most productive, restorative sleep possible?
Um, yeah, sleep is a struggle, and it started with menopause, with perimenopause, actually. I have a wonderful doctor who is also believes in integrative medicine, and she helped me out during menopause with bioidentical hormones. But now, I still wake up, and I'm thankful that I'm able to fall back asleep. So, I tried many different things. I think the most effective thing for me is magnesium. I take magnesium. When I have a glass of wine, that is not a good idea. And now I just read a study, and I'm sure everybody has read the same, that alcohol is not a good thing at all, even in small amounts, which is upsetting. um, so eating, alcohol affects sleeping. So for me, I'm okay with, waking up periodically at night. As long as I fall asleep, that's great. And that for me, is a good night's sleep. I try not to have any electronics in the room, or if I do, I like to know what time it is. So I do have my phone, so I put it on airplane mode, and I turn off the Wi-Fi. Um, and I mean, that's all I can do is, and I'm really tired by about 9:30. So I read before I fall asleep. That helps me to fall asleep. And then I'm up by, I don't know, 6:30.
Hmm, okay, sounds good. So, is that like a regular cadence for you? Do you keep the same sleep wake schedule every day of the week?
I do. When I was teaching, I was up at 5:30. The alarm, I mean, I really even was up before the alarm. So I was in school by 7:15. So I have been an early riser for 25 years. So it's very difficult to break that pattern. Um, but I'm okay with waking up early because I enjoy, having my coffee, catching up with the news, doing my yoga routine, my workout, having breakfast, or going for a walk. I like that time to myself.
Hmm, okay. All right. So, as we age, we all face different challenges. What has
Hmm.
been your biggest challenge in your quest to stay healthy and active over the years?
My biggest challenge has been smoking. I was a smoker, and I decided to, on and off, I quit twice. I didn't smoke during my pregnancies. And when I decided to become a yoga teacher, I thought, this is it. I can't go to, I just can't do it anymore. It's not good for you. I know it's not good for me. So I stopped. I went to Costa Rica. I smoked my last cigarette on Saturday, and I flew out to Costa Rica on Sunday.
So, did you just stop cold turkey?
Yep.
Okay. And how do you feel?
I feel great. I developed a cough, and I'm not coughing anymore. I, I feel, I feel different. I feel cleaner, I just feel better about myself. That it was a decision that was looming. It was really weighing heavily on me. And I knew that I had to find the right point because any smoker you talk to says they love smoking, right? I love smoking, but I know that I can't keep smoking, especially when I'm doing all these things to age deliberately, right? That I'm doing all these things, and smoking is just counteractive to everything that I'm doing. So I said no more. And that's where I am. No more.
So, what was your motivation to do that?
Um, well, smoking is bad for you, right?
Mhm.
We know that it's not good for you, that and all the, terrible things that can happen to you as a smoker. Even though I wasn't. And listening to my body told me that it was time. I developed a cough. I developed this productive cough that I never had before. And I thought, when it started, that it was a cold, but it wasn't a cold. And I just kept ignoring it. And I said, okay, my body is telling me it's time. This is it. This is your last chance. So I
Very,
so I
yeah, very interesting that you're really tuning in to listening to what your body's telling you, because so often I think that people don't, myself included. I know.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what would be your most important advice to anybody out there listening on what should they do to stay healthy as they age?
Oh my goodness. I would say education is important. Educate yourself. Follow someone, find a doctor that you want to follow. Do reading. Keep up on the latest fads, not TikTok, not, Instagram, but people who are reputable that have established, like I said, reputations and who 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 know what they're doing and what they're talking about. Listening to your body is very important. Remaining active. Um, having healthy relationships. I think you had a podcast about the book clubs, and staying social, remaining social is so important. Maintaining, even though you're retired, having a social life. Every weekend we get together with our friends. Like I said, we have dinner. We either ski or play tennis or, play bridge, whatever it is. We laugh, um, and that's really important.
Hmm.
Not to not to say, okay, I'm 60, so life is over, or 70, life is over. No, just keep doing what you were doing when you were younger. Just do it wisely, because we are wise now. We can do whatever we did. We just have to do it better.
Hmm. Really interesting. I love that point. So, in general, overall, what would you say is your purpose in life? What gets you out of bed every morning with enthusiasm and excitement?
Well, I love to wake up and spend time with my husband, but and we've been married for, oh my gosh, over 40 years. We have our three dogs, and also knowing that I'm going to talk to my two daughters and my son-in-laws, who I love like my own children, and knowing that when they need me, I will be there. So I'm going down to Potomac to visit my older daughter, but my younger daughter is bringing her kids up there because she's flying out to another competition. So I'm going to be taking care of the two younger ones down in Potomac. And I can't wait. And they know that they can depend on me. That to me is my purpose in life. They know that they can depend on me to help them at the drop of a hat. And we couldn't wait for that. I couldn't wait for that to retire, to be able to say, to answer the question with, yes, I can come down next week, no problem.
Hmm.
So that is what gets me out of bed every day and gets me either on the Peloton bike or on the yoga mat or walking, is that I want to be there for them for as long as possible.
That is beautiful. Love it. Okay, so you just finished your yoga teacher training like weeks ago, right? So,
Yes.
what are your plans? Are you going to be working somewhere teaching, or just doing privates, or like how could someone connect with you if they wanted to try one of your classes?
Right. Well, as of this point, I'm trying to engage with my friends and offer to practice yoga with them at either at their house or at my house. So my best friends and I, who walk together during the week, we are now going to do yoga before we walk at her house. So I'm going to walk because we live literally, a couple of blocks away. So I'm going to walk to her house. We're going to practice yoga together, and then we're going to take our walk. I have another friend who is going to do chair yoga with me in her apartment because she's physically compromised right now. She's going through some tough times with her health, but she wants to remain active. She's about 10 years older than I am, and she's very eager to do some chair yoga. Our book club, I hope, would want to do some yoga in my home. Perhaps we can get together and do some yoga in my attic, which is sunny and bright and beautiful. And it has plenty of room, no furniture. It's just ready to practice in. I'd like to start teaching as soon as possible because that's the only way that I'm going to become a good yoga teacher, right? You can only quote unquote book learn so much, right? You have to do in order to learn. So that's my plan. I also here up in the Catskills have some connections, and I think I'm going to be on their sub list because with my schedule, I really can't commit to teaching at the studio. I can't do that to someone because of my commitment to my family.
Mm-hmm.
And, going down to either Roanoke, Virginia or Potomac, Maryland at the drop of a hat. So I need that flexibility, but I'm more than happy to practice with anyone who is willing to practice at their home or mine.
Okay, sounds good. So I will make sure to post your contact details in the show notes, but it sounds like you
Sure.
won't have any recurring, like they can't go to a specific yoga studio or whatever to find you. It will just be kind of
No,
ad hoc.
just contact me by,
Yeah.
email. I think email is best.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, any closing words?
No, I want to wish you all the best on your podcast. Congratulations on really doing this. I think it's a great topic. I've listened to a few of your podcasts and they're wonderful. It's all the topics are about things that we're all thinking about right now at the point in our lives.
Yeah.
So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best, and I hope we'll be able to see each other soon, either on the mat or with a book in front of us.
Oh, sounds great. Okay, I look forward to it. Thanks for listening. This is Dodie from Deliberate Aging. Until next time, be well, friends. This podcast is presented solely for informational and educational purposes only. Use of information from this podcast is at the user's own risk. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician or other qualified professional. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from use of this podcast.